Hello, my fellow Americans and other YouTube viewers. 'Tis I, the Rumpled One. Boy, I tell ya, this past week, the events, the whole talk about black on black crime and cops killing blacks, it's really tough to have a conversation. Everybody comes to the table with their own agenda. Really hard to communicate. One thing though is that people sometimes assume that if you don't have the same view as they do, that you're stupid or that you've fallen for something. Now, I could point the finger at myself because sometimes I believe that too. But when I believe it, it's because people don't have the facts. They confuse their opinion, their beliefs, their bias with facts, evidence, logic, and reason. I mean, for example, it's a fact that on an annual basis, cops kill more white people than black people. That is a fact. And that fact gets thrown out a lot. But what's not discussed is the frequency or rate at which cops kill. Because I did a little research, and according to 2012 statistics, cops killed 386 white people and 140 black people. So most people go, see, cops killed more white people than black people. But what they don't say is the rate. Because, once again, I did my homework. The population of white people in America for 2012 was over 251 million. Okay? The population of black people in America was over 44 million. 44 million and change for blacks, 251 million for whites. So let's think about something. Follow me here. This is simple. 386 whites were killed by cops, 140 blacks. 386, I'll give you the hedge, is about 3 times 140. Really about 2.5, but let's just call it 3 times. Okay? Now, 251 million is about, and I'll round down, 5 times. Or actually, it's about 6 times, but I'll round down to 5 times bigger than 44 million. So on the one hand, the white population is 5 times the black population, right? So then, if everything was equal, then wouldn't cops be killing 5 times as many white people? But they're only killing about 3 times as many white people. Do you see that? And that's where the problem lies. Because what happens is on the one hand, people will say cops kill more whites. But then, when they want to talk about the blacks, they say, well, black on black crime, look at the rate. So you can't compare raw numbers with the rate number. You got to keep things equal. And you see, this is part of the reason why statistics are used to distort. Because they'll talk about raw numbers on the one hand, because the number of people killed, that's just the raw number. But the number of people killed per race or per capita, that's a statistic. You see, that changes things. So when we're having these discussions, we got to keep things equal. You gotta, if you're talking about rates, you got to talk about rates over here. If you're talking about raw numbers, then you got to talk about raw numbers over here. But like I said, my fellow Americans, you know, throwing statistics back and forth, that doesn't do anything. I mean, you use statistics to pinpoint a problem, not to solve a problem, okay? Statistics alone doesn't solve a problem. I mean, you know, this is a serious matter, but I have to laugh because some of this stuff is just ludicrous. And it's just really hard to have an intelligent, civilized, logical, rational discussion with some people. Because, like I said, this is emotionally charged. I realize that. And we all come to the table with a certain bias. And one of the things is the confirmation bias, that we all try to come with, that people come and they bring out their data and they bring out their statistics because they're trying to prove a point. But they're not looking at the whole picture. You see, this statistic, I'm not here trying to prove a point. I'm just here trying to let everybody understand what's going on, the way I see it. And like I said, these statistics and this data, they're being used by the puppet masters to manipulate you. And so, I mean, really, you know, fortunately on my channel, I really appreciate people having a civilized discussion. There really hasn't been much name calling or anything, and that's just great. I mean, if you know, if that could spread out, you know, to the population of the world, that people can have these civilized debates, and even sometimes heated debates, that'd be great. But, you know, just bringing numbers to the table and statistics, that's not going to solve the problem. You know, pointing fingers, that's not going to solve the problem. What's going to solve the problem is identifying the problem, and that's what you use statistics for. So in this case, I mean, why is the rate higher? There's got to be a problem. And in fact, you know, when people go, well, you're more worried about killing, you know, blacks getting killed by cops, but you know, blacks kill more blacks than cops kill blacks. Well, that might be true, but the thing is, that argument doesn't negate the fact that cops are killing blacks at a rate higher than they kill whites. It doesn't negate that fact. And so the simple thing is that you can say you got two problems. You've got, you know, black on black crime. But the thing, what's the solution to black on black crime? I mean, isn't it kind of the job of the police? I mean, isn't that part of their job? I'm not saying they're totally responsible, but isn't that one of their responsibilities? I mean, really, when you think about it, I mean, it's up to each one of us to obey the law. It's just that simple. It's got nothing to do with color of skin. It's just whether or not you're going to obey the law or you're not going to obey the law. And then what happens to you when you don't obey the law. But you see, we've got a system now that has so many laws, it's hard to not disobey a law, because ignorance of the law is no excuse unless your last name is Clinton. You know, whether or not you intended to break the law, that's no excuse either, unless your last name is Clinton. So, everybody, once again, there's just one thing for you to do, and that's wake up and smell the tyranny.